Great. Good morning, everyone. Okay. Welcome to AADHum's open house. We're really thrilled to have you and to kick off our programming this year. I wanted to start with introductions. My name is Aaliyah Brown, and I'm the Assistant Director of AADHum. And I welcome you all to introduce yourselves and share a little bit about the projects that you're interested in working on.
Good morning. My name is Sahai Priester. I am a project manager here with AADHum, also a PhD student in American Studies, PhD candidate in American Studies. And I'm really excited to be here to learn a little bit more about what AADHum is planning to do in the future, the Scholars Program, all of the above. I'll also be working online with live tweeting and answering any of your questions, so hit us up. Thanks.
Thank you, Sahai. Let's also welcome her. And yeah.
Hi, my name is Arlisha Norwood. I'm a visiting assistant professor at Baruch College. I'm just interested to learn more about the program. My current research looks at single black women in post-Civil War Virginia, so I'm interested in trying to find out how to get that research out in a different way. And so I'm just here to learn.
Great, thank you.
Morning, I'm Trevor Munoz. I'm the interim director here at MIF and one of the two co-PIs on the AADHum initiative. And I'm here to find out what everyone is excited about in Black DH this morning. I really love working on this project. So.
Great. And we also have folks who are tuned in online. So people who are online, feel free to ask questions and engage. Sahai will be the voice, so she will ask your question verbally for us if you have them. Okay, so I know we did introductions, but I wanted to just share a little bit more about myself and some of the projects that I work on. Broadly, I'm interested in how Black people have used material and digital culture to articulate narratives of Black freedom struggles. So more specifically, my manuscript project, tentatively titled War and Redemption in the Cloth, Quilting the Black Freedom Struggle from 1960 to the present, looks at how Black women have used material culture to disseminate information about their own lived experiences through the civil rights movement. I also do a lot of work online, like Black Twitter historians and museums respond to Ferguson. So I just shared that as kind of like an arc of how broadly I view and conceptualize digital history and digital humanities, and then also kind of how AADHum does too. But the kind of through line through all of that is Black imagination, the ability to imagine otherwise, right? And I have a photo of one of my favorite books, Robin D.G. Kelley's Freedom Dreams, The Black Radical Imagination. And ironically, that was my entry into digital humanities. I think oftentimes technology in the digital humanities is something frightening and scary, but what I learned from this book is that it actually starts with the imagination, the ability to think about something new. So I just wanted to share kind of some thoughts that Kelley has in his prologue to kind of help you all get the sense of how we conceptualize digital humanities here. The idea that we could possibly go somewhere that exists only in our imagination, that is nowhere, is the classic definition of utopia. Call me utopian, but I inherited my mother's belief that the map to a new world is in the imagination, in what we see in our third eyes rather than in the desolation that surrounds us. Now that I look back with hindsight, my writing and the kind of politics to which I've been drawn have more to do with imagining a different future than being pissed off by the present. So I just share that because I think that he shows us that digital humanities is accessible to everyone because it really just starts with an idea. And furthermore, that single spark of an idea or ability to imagine otherwise is one of the greatest assets that we have in Black history and culture. So from movements if you look at the Great Migration, and I realize that I'm going to be jumping like a lot of different time periods, but stay with me. If you look at the Great Migration, if you look at jazz, if you look at the Combahee Rivers Collective for us to shift consciousness, all of that movement is innovation. And all of that innovation is what we bring to our work here at AADHum. So that's another way to kind of conceptualize Black DH. It's not solely about the hard tech and different languages and different apps. It's also just about the imagination and the ability to do otherwise. And that's a strong asset that we've had for many years throughout the diaspora. So I will say, what is AADHum of all of that? I know I went through this long diatribe, but at AADHum, we're working to build a community where Black history and culture is positioned at the leading edge of digital humanities. So that all kind of wraps it up. And we're also a community of practice, and we take how we work very seriously, and it's a part of what we produce. So the product is also part of the practice. So I just wanted to share a little bit about our values and how we work together. So the first kind of thing that we often say, and if you have attended the conference, how many of you all attended the conference in 2018? Yay. I'm sorry, we have someone new. If you don't mind introducing yourself and sharing what project you're working on.
Yeah, of course. My name is Matthew Salzano. I'm a second-year PhD student in the Department of Communication here at the University of Maryland. I'm working on lots of things. My research is about rhetoric and political culture, specifically like feminist intellectuals and digital culture.
Great, thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, intentionally digital, intentionally Black is something that kind of emerged out of the conference from 2018, but it's something that we're carrying through the work that we're doing in AADHum today and in the future, just because it was so concise but really resonated with what we're trying to do, which is centering Black life and being very intentional about it in the ways that we do it in person and how we operate together, but also in the technologies that we are working to build, which ties into how we center Black life, and we're attentive to the needs and different methods that it takes to produce thoughtful scholarship and public engaged work. The third is that we offer critiques about the digital, we offer critiques about technology, but we also offer a way to imagine a different, imagine a way of using technology and digital humanities that is less oppressive. And then we're also empowered by our digital assets. And that just simply means that we're not focused on lack. We don't focus on what we don't have. And we also dismiss the narrative that Black folks don't have the ability to grasp technologies, because as I said earlier, we're coming from a tradition that is actually very strong in understanding digital technologies and humanities. And we're committed to publicly engaged scholarship, so work that happens beyond the university and work that matters beyond the university. Thank you for joining us. Do you mind introducing yourself?
Sure. My name is Adrina Eiffel.
Okay. And can you tell us what you're working on or what you're interested in?
Sure. I'm an independent scholar working on Black political history, focusing on the 19th century.
Great. Thank you.
Apologize.
So what does all of that mean? How do we take the values that we've kind of set up and the ways of working that we've set up, and how does that translate to the work that we do at AADHum? So we have three things that we've committed to working on, and strains of everything that I just talked about will flow into the projects that we do. Okay, so the first thing is that we want to be an incubator for ideas. We want to be a resource So we know that there are plenty of ideas. We know that people have plenty of projects, and we definitely want to be a resource to help start up those projects and make suggestions about how to forward them. So that's the first thing, that we're going to incubate Black DH projects. The second is a commitment to restorative justice. So here, particularly at University of Maryland, we are looking internally and looking at the University of Maryland's complicated history with desegregation, segregation, how that affected higher ed, how that affected HBCU's funding in Maryland, and more importantly, what that meant for higher ed nationally. And we're looking at building, we're looking at using the archives to illuminate the stories of desegregation here at Maryland, and what does that mean? What have we gained and lost from going through that process of segregation? And then, of course, we're committed to teaching and training. We're, of course, committed to offering courses, but specifically courses that are centering Black history and life, and courses that are immersive learning courses, so students can see an outcome of what they're learning and working on. We also have programs that train also students and faculty. So the highlight program that probably many of you all are here to learn about is the AADHum Scholars program. And just the quick logistics, the proposals for the AADHum Scholars program are due November 18th. And then, kind of keeping with our idea of being an incubator and wanting to nurture projects, we are having feedback sessions next week from October 8th through the 11th, so that you all can come in and get feedback on your proposals before they're due. Yes?
Can we also do those feedback sessions like via video chat or remotely?
Yes, yeah, so you do not have to be present to do the feedback sessions. And this is all in the spirit of making sure that we're accessible and attentive, and that you all have everything that you need to produce good applications, and beyond that, have projects that have some type of resonance in Black DH. Also, you all can feel free to ask questions, jump in, because we have a pretty intimate crowd. So this is just the AADHum Scholars page, where you can find all of the information about the program, in addition to kind of the key points and requirements. And I'll just walk through a little of some of the requirements so that everyone's clear on what we're doing. So the program begins in spring 2020. And I'm sorry if this is super small. Let's see if I can make it bigger. Okay. So we have kind of different staples of the program that are all in service of helping you advance your work. The first is the AADHum Intensives, and that allows you to bring your project and to gain a deep understanding of the technology that you're trying to use and share it with the group. So AADHum Scholars are required to present their work in progress in AADHum intensive sessions throughout the semester, and we'll schedule that as we move forward. And then you're also required to attend 2 other AADHum sessions outside of the one that you present in. The second thing that's part of the program is the working group, and that's where you will get robust feedback from everyone in your cohort as well as the AADHum and Myth staff. So the other thing that I'll say about this program is that it's meant to be a cohort and a collaborative project, and everyone's supposed to be deeply engaged in their work. So it is quite a commitment, but the return is really great because we have really rich conversations about theory and practice. So the other thing that I'll say is that you're required to attend the two sessions in person, and you can attend the other sessions online if you like. And then finally, in the spirit of doing the work, but then also sharing that information with other people in Black DH, we require that you write one blog post. So the guidelines are pretty simple, and the programs are pretty simple, but we really hope that this is an enriching project for everyone. And then we have the program application, which some of you are probably already familiar with. Again, it's due Monday, November 18th. And we just require a cover letter detailing your proposal, so what you're working on, your interests, your skills. And then also, we're very interested in you all demonstrating the ways that you center Black DH. We want thoughtful engagement around Black studies and awareness of the methodologies of care and harm reduction in the digital space, because that's like one of the tenets of AADHum. And then a current CV is also part of the application package. Are there any questions about what's required or the application so far? Yes.
In terms of the cover letter, is there a maximum pages, minimum pages?
Yes. So we set brief, but we also realized that we asked a lot of you. So we're kind of leaving that to your discretion, but also we're not interested in seeing 20 pages. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Yeah. Any other questions? Or anything that needs to be clarified?
Can I just add something? And we ask about technology and we ask about some of these other things, but really we're looking to get a sense of, you know, excitement around your project. And the other questions are just to help us begin to think about how to engage you with other members of the community and build on what you're already doing. So basically, we just are looking to be excited and interested in what you're doing, and then to have a sense from you about where you are, where you would like more help, where you'd like more discussion, where you think you're really moving ahead, those types of things. So that's kind of the rubric that we'll be using.
Yeah, thank you for adding that. We're so thrilled about this program because, as I said, we see this as an asset. The ideas are the assets. So, and we're really excited to work with you all, and we like for that to come through. And also anything that has excitement behind it, we can help you incubate that. So that's what we're looking for. Okay. So that concludes the presentation overall for AADHum. But if you have any questions about AADHum at large, or want to present ideas that you're thinking about, or any feedback from previous AADHum sessions that you've attended, we'd appreciate that now. So thank you. You have any questions or comments?
I guess I do have a question.
Yeah.
But I should
And if you don't mind, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, sure. So my name is Yolanda Hester. I'm not a student at Maryland University. I grew up in Maryland, but have not lived here for many years. And I just moved back from Los Angeles. I have my master's degree in African American Studies, and I do lots of research projects on African American communities. My
more recent projects have been, you know, the African American LA community. But one of my projects, which was a collection of oral histories of long-term, still functioning African American businesses in a couple of neighborhoods in Los Angeles, it got funded through UCLA to create a digital exhibition. And through trying to figure that out and learn, and they hired me back to curate it. So through all of that, I stumbled upon this center. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. I'm actually moving back in a few weeks, so I just wanted to come and check it out. And I guess my biggest question is the work that you do, the workshops, and obviously the fellowship program, is it mainly for University of Maryland students? How are you connecting outside of that?
So first of all, thank you for coming, and that's an amazing story that you found us while you were in LA and then you've now moved back. But no, as a part of like how we kind of conceptualize ourselves in the work that we do and situating in Black studies, the idea is that we're always moving our work outside. We're engaging the community, we're engaging different communities, meaning independent researchers, museum professionals, archivists. We're really welcoming all different types of communities, so we have a really rich and robust learning community. So to answer your question, yes, of course, we're centered here. So we have like courses and things for students here, but the work that we do is open to the public. And also some of the courses that we've offered, people have came to sit in on, so yes. But we want to make sure that we're constantly moving between, it's really fluid. There's not a strong boundary between what we offer and who we close out.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was so, I loved your website. It seemed very interesting. It seems like a very good direction to go into. I mean, I plan to replicate some of my projects, my community-based projects here, but I don't know if anyone's familiar with Los Angeles. It's pretty sprawling and neighborhoods can be very siloed and segregated. And so, but the places that can fund these projects are in neighborhoods, you know, at least for the African American community, they're not in the African American community. So one of my requirements when I'm hired is that it has to be accessible in some way. And the digital world seems, you know, I mean, there's generational issues that I kind of work on with that. But the like different digital platforms seem like the way to make it accessible. I mean, UCLA is all the way up in this like castle, like fortress. And, you know, the Black community is in South LA, whereas that's in sort of West North LA. And it just feels uncomfortable to go and extract all of this richness from the community and then take it up to this little, you know, this place where most of the people who I'm interviewing, they're not going to go to on a regular basis. The parking's very expensive. It's out of their regular routine. And so, you know, it's just one of my requirements to do research with an institution, and so far so good. I mean, it seems like people are really open to it and they're really thinking about this idea of access. So, so I just, you know, I saw your website and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so in line with what I'm thinking about. So I want to be involved in some way. I don't know how, but, you know, I just like what you all are doing.
Well, and to build on what Aaliyah was saying, I mean, I think we're very eager to be in conversation with folks like you and to think about, like, are the things we're doing now fitting with how you're working? You know, are there tweaks or something that we could make to the things that we're doing that would help make it easier to do the type of work you're doing? You know, at the very least, you know, there are other people, including another project that I myself work on, that are working on similar issues about, you know, using the digital to think about how to help communities have access to their own heritage, and dealing with the access issues and the institutional power versus community power type dynamics. So on the one hand, like, we have a community here discussing those issues, working through them together. On the other hand, as Aaliyah mentioned, always thinking about how we can push out the resources that we have so that they're shared with people beyond, you know, University of Maryland.
Wonderful.
And I really appreciate your comments and not wanting to be extractive. So as I said, like we do a lot of publicly engaged scholarship, but that is heavily in our conversations about how do we not extract from communities and what are the methodologies around that. So I think that would be a very fruitful conversation to continue with you. But I know we just talked about a lot of ideas, but a few key ways to actually plug into AADHum. First, I'll talk about like the digital stuff because I think that's the easiest. We have a pretty active Twitter account, so it's here, UMD_ at AADHum. We also have a virtual space on Slack, and Sahai can help you with that and getting signed up. But that's where we have some of these conversations about methodology. It's also where we post opportunities for like CFPs, call for proposals. So that is another really active space to get feedback. And then the program moving forward. So like the AADHum Scholars program, if you want to incubate a project and be in community with 6 to 8 other folks who are interested in doing this work, that's another place that you should apply. So
it is open to outside?
Yes, yes,
That's good to know.
yes, please apply.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we have one question from the live
Great.
stream, and we're responding to Christy Jones. Christy, thanks for your patience. We were trying to elevate the volume a little bit, so as we speak, just be aware that folks are
Okay.
trying to listen in, and thanks to our tech team for helping us out with that. So Christy has the question about the expectations for folks in their projects, right? She said, if selected as an AADHum Scholar, is the expectation that our project will be completed by the end of summer funding, right? And should we be ready to present a paper on our project in some format?
Right. So your project, thank you, Christy, for chiming in, asking a question. Your project does not have to be complete. But I will say that we definitely want to see a significant amount of progress from when you came in. So you can't start at square one and then at the end of the project be at square three. The only thing that we require at the end is the blog posts, which we will work with each of the scholars on. So it'll be a pretty sophisticated thing, although it's on a blog, so it's not like an academic paper. In the past, we have had some of the AADHum Scholars turn their work that they did from the program into a paper. So that's an option, and we have walked through the publication process with some of the AADHum Scholars, but the only thing that you're actually required to do at the end is the blog posts and to demonstrate a significant amount of progress on your project and in your thinking about Black DH.
There was one follow-up related to the presentation and your slides. Are they going to be available to us online? What's the format? Like, where can we find more info?
Yes, we can share them online, and we can share them through our various channels, so Slack, Twitter, and maybe even as a blog post on our website.
Thanks. She says thank you.
Thank you. And then also just to acknowledge the people who are watching on live stream, if you all could say your name before you ask the question, just so that they're familiar with the other people in the room. So, go ahead.
I have a question. Is a couple of things. Have you received any feedback from the, I guess it would be 18-19 scholars that would be informative for us applying?
So we don't have a formal way in place yet. We have a few interviews set up with some of the scholars. So all of that to say, like I don't have much feedback that I think would be helpful to you other than they're really excited about the project continuing. So you have that. I think that's great that you all should apply according to many of our alumni. But I can share after I do some of the more formal interviews with, and I've asked them to consider like, is there something about the process that they would like to see changed, or are there certain skills that they wish that they would have learned? Generally, I can say that people have asked for more skill building sessions, but I'm not sure about feedback that would help you as an applicant, but I'll be in touch.
And then my other question is, I did attend the Intentionally Black conference last year, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Is that going to happen again in the spring?
Not this year, but it will happen again.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Or any ideas that you all would just like to share?
So I'm kind of seeding the question, even though I kind of have a little insight.
Uh-huh.
I'm curious, I'd love to hear you talk a little bit more, especially when you opened with Robert D.G. Kelly, because he's one of my favorite authors and theorists around freedom dreaming and this creating an imaginative space, a space where we can think broadly, creatively about the past, present, and future. Can you talk to us about like the ways in which AADHum hopes to cultivate that type of space through like on-site and even virtually, where we can just imagine and envision what we want Black DH to be?
Yeah, I think, and he uses this term radical imagination. First of all, leading with radical imagination. I think that's more accessible sometimes even than the words digital humanities, because people often think of digital as something that they don't quite understand or they don't have, right, like a deficit. But what we know is that that's not actually true. Black folks don't have a deficit around the digital and technologies. And I think that just conceptualizing DH is a thought. It all starts with a thought, which we all have. We all have imaginations about how we dream of a more liberated world, a less oppressive world. So just starting from there and conceptualizing kind of how we do all of our programming, all of our projects, the outputs, and the ways that we work together, right? So the ways that we work together is really important because, as I said earlier, we believe in this community of practice. So we can't produce the things that we want without working together, and acknowledging all that comes with that. So I think specifically one of the projects that I'm looking at, which is actually literally creating a world. So I mentioned earlier that my work is on how Black women textile artists have articulated different, and I'll just, I think I can show you all so you have a better sense of what I mean. So this is a quilt that Dr. Caroline Mazlumi, and sorry it's a little pixelated. This is a quilt that Dr. Caroline Mazlumi made, and it traces the route of the Selma to Montgomery March. And then because the photo of the quilt was taken at a museum, you can't see the back, but on the back, she inscribed her memories of watching the marchers through Selma. So essentially what I'm looking at is how to create like an augmented reality world where you see the front of the quilt and then also the back of the quilt, because that's in my mind where the true gem is, because that's her first person understanding of what that was like, experiencing the marchers go through Selma, and then also her oral history. So it's a layering of the visual, the written, and the oral experience, right? So I'm imagining creating a digital or augmented reality gallery that has quilts and other textiles like these from the Women of Color Quilters Network. So it's literally imagining another world. But that's like a really specific project. I just wanted to mention that to help you guys kind of understand some of the projects that we're kind of conceptualizing, and then to kind of inspire you all to think about how you might take that concept of another world and use it with other projects. So I hope that answered your question. Great.
And if I could just add, I mean, in the AADHum programming that we've done so far, we've spent a lot of time, again, sort of being deeply informed by this Black Studies perspective of sort of talking about, and your comment actually made me think of this, about our positionality, right? And related to the university, its resources, or other points from which we come to this work, and how those affect, the journey that each project might take. So that is also sort of a key part of the AADHum approach to things, is always sort of thinking about our position, thinking about, sort of taking an intersectional lens to things like technology and digital approaches to these kinds of topics.
And also, just to kind of add to that, thinking about and being critical and cautious of how we implement these technologies. So, right, even though I've talked about wanting to use augmented reality, I'm also very aware of the ways that it can be destructive to certain Black communities, right? Like putting certain more sacred histories and lived experiences out into a world without much control over those narratives. So we're also kind of also thinking about harm reduction and how we use certain technologies and what that means. Yeah.
One question. My name's Matthew for the internet. One question I have is how much does the AADHum Scholars program want to be invested in specifically using DH research methods versus like studying digital culture, for example? Like, should I be pitching something that definitely has something like computational in it, or would it be appropriate to talk about like Black communities online in a more
Yeah, that's a good question. And the program has incorporated both. So I would encourage you to look on the AADHum Scholars page on the website, and you'll see that there's quite a range of projects that people have pursued. Though I will say that I think there's less and maybe Trevor, you can jump in. There's less computational stuff and more like thinking about either Black life online or how to use tools to examine Black history and Black life. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, it changes with the contours of who's in the program at the time, but, to my mind, these are both part of Black digital humanities, right? Thinking about culture online or, building something with digital tools. Those, I think, are both useful and interesting approaches.
Thank you.
That was a good question, though. Yeah. Any other questions, comments? All right, so I'm very appreciative of your time. Again, I want to encourage you all to get involved with us so you can stay updated through our website, also our Twitter. You can join the Slack, and we have a MailChimp if you want, the most up-to-date messages coming to your email inbox. So thank you. All right.
Please feel free to hang around and have some of the snacks and chat informally as well.
Yes.